up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are here with the Detroit Lions' initial 53-man roster. The Lions have made their cuts today to get down to this 53-man roster. It is now in the notebook, so let's dive right into it. Let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And we are back to dive into this 53-man roster. The Lions have made their cuts. They made some interesting decisions today. They had a trade today. If you guys want to know more about that, check out my last video towards the end. I talk about that player. But the Lions made some interesting cuts. Some things that we thought could happen and some things that maybe we didn't expect at all. And we've been kind of updating it, you know, throughout these last couple of days. So some of these guys you may have already heard about. Official 53 is here. So I thought we'd just kind of run through it. Of course, things can still change. You can still have signings, cuts, things like that. But you had to get down to 53 players by 4 p.m. Eastern time today. And the Lions have done that. So let's just dive right into it. Let's take a look at some of these interesting moves the Lions made. Let's start off with the quarterback position. Now, when I throw this on the screen, I use their initials. First letter of their first name, first letter of their second name, of their last name. All right, so just keep that in mind as you look at this. So if it says JG, Jared Goff, just keep that in mind as we go through this. It wouldn't have fit if I would have put their whole name, so I just did it like that. Let's just dive right into this 53-man roster. All right, starting off at the quarterback position, no surprise here, the Lions are rolling with 3 quarterbacks, but we do have an update on Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle is reportedly going to be out between 6 and 8 weeks. All right, so that's like right in the middle of the season. But the Detroit Lions decided not to place him on IR before the cuts to open up a spot. So he is on this roster, which means that they can still put him on IR now that they have made the cuts, which would open up a spot. But they can now also get him back after 3 weeks. Now, apparently he won't be healthy in 3 weeks, but they can get him back. If you put him on IR before you do the cuts, you can't get him back this season. You can't take him off of injury reserve. So the Lions made some spots in interesting ways, and they kept him on the roster, and they didn't place him on IR. Now they can place him on IR that the cuts have been made. I would think that's probably going to happen to open up another spot. That way the Lions can bring in some other positions. But they rolled with the initial 3 that we thought they would. They liked Tim Boyle, David Blau is here, and of course Jared Goff. At the running back position, I think, you know, we predicted this one right too. Okay, good start. Good start here. The Lions did keep 4 running backs, which I love. I'm super happy that they did that. And the 4th running back was Godwin Igwebuike. I'm getting better, I think. Godwin is the 4th running back in. It was tough. It was really, to me, a toss-up between him and Craig Reynolds. But Godwin shined, you know, a little bit later in the preseason. Solid spot on the depth chart. So they decided to go with Godwin over Craig Reynolds. I bet that was a tough decision. It's tough to lose Craig Reynolds. We talked about it in the last video. But Godwin also did earn this role. I just wanted to keep 4 running backs. I just wanted 4. I just did not want to go in with 3. I thought there's too much running back talent here. We got to find a way to at least keep 4 guys. And the Lions did that. Jamar Jefferson as your 3, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, of course, holding down the top 2 roles. And they did keep fullback Jason Cabinda. No shock there either. Cabinda, his versatility is through the roof. I didn't realize he had, think of a guy that went from linebacker, now he's on offense, for going from just playing fullback to now he's like lining up like a tight end. He's showing us so much. They're even like, hey man, we could turn around and hand this guy the ball if we wanted to. Jason Cabinda's versatility is incredible, so he makes the roster. So far so good, 8 for 8. And this is where we messed up. The receiver position. Now, the first 4 we were locked on. Tyrell, Amon-Ra, Quintez Cephas, and Khalif Raymond. No surprise there. Those 4 guys made the team. Quintez Cephas really just showed up through preseason. And he's kind of the guy that is just different from this receiver room. You got a lot of fast, twitchy guys. And then you got Quintez Cephas, who doesn't have that kind of style. Plays a little bit more physical. But at the same time, he's been successful. It would have been unfortunate to not have Quintez Cephas going into the season. And then he played well in the preseason. It's one of those guys that can kind of just give you a different look. Mix it up a little bit in the receiver room, and that's what Cephas brings to the table. But then that's where things get interesting. The Lions did keep Tom Kennedy on this 53-man roster. I was back and forth between him and Perriman. They went with Kennedy. Congratulations, Tom Kennedy. I'm super happy for you. I'm so glad that you're on this roster. Now, you got to keep earning it. You know that. But we are very happy for you, Tom Kennedy. Go out there, kill it. Any opportunities you get. It's just really cool this guy made the roster. I would not have anticipated that heading into the season. So that's just awesome. Congratulations. But the Lions also made a trade today to bring in Trinity Benson. I'm going to have to get used to that name. I don't hear that name a ton, so I'm going to have to get used to it. But he has been traded to the Detroit Lions. So he is also on this roster as our 6th receiver. He was traded. We gave up a 5th and 7th round pick this season, and we got a 6th round pick for next year, 2023, and the receiver in return. A guy that probably would have hit waivers if he would have been cut. Well, he would have hit waivers if he would have been cut. And there's a chance that we wouldn't have been able to scoop him up. Brad Holmes liked him, scooped him up. If you want to hear more about him, we talked about him in our last video, but man, he had an impressive preseason. So that gives us some receiver help, a little twitchy, fast receiver, solid size, a little bit taller of a Khalif Raymond type of build, and he's just going to help this receiver unit that needed it. So he'll compete, he'll come in battle, and I just love it. If home wants something, man, he's going to go after it. So that's what the receiver position is looking like. Tight end, we were right on this as well. The Lions only kept 2 tight ends. Brock Wright, Alize Mack. Yeah, I mean, the Lions are probably going to want to have more than 2 tight ends this season, especially if they want to run 13 personnel. But because Cabinda has showed us that he can play tight end, plus really Alize and Brock Wright, they haven't like balled out to the point where it's like we have to find a spot for this guy. They've all had their ups, they've all had their downs. I thought Brock Wright was solid, but he didn't really flash, and Alize Mack was very inconsistent, so the Detroit Lions just decided to cut them both. There's a chance that, one or maybe both of them are still available through these waiver claims. Lions are able to pick one of them up, bring them back to the roster, or potentially sign a different tight end. They keep Hawkinson, they keep Fells, but it's because Cabinda can play that tight end position, it gives the Lions some versatility until they figure out that tight end spot, because I'm thinking they're going to want to have at least 3, or at least add someone to the practice squad. That way they can bring them up, make them active for a week if that's in their game plan. But as of now, they go with 2, and it opens up roster spots elsewhere. Because honestly, I mean, think about it like this. Would you rather keep Alize Mack or Brock Wright on the initial 53-man roster, or one of those running backs, or one of the defensive linemen, one of these guys that have just put themselves in a spot where it's like, how do we cut him? One of these outside linebackers. So, for me, it makes a lot of sense, and that's what the Lions did. Onto the offensive line. Okay, things got a little interesting here. Very interesting, I should say. The starting 5, they're all the same. No moves there, as expected. But then things get interesting. Terrell Crosby was released. And we talked about that yesterday, and Dan Campbell was like, we just didn't think he was a great player for us, simply put. So Terrell Crosby is no longer here. That was the first surprise that hit us. The Detroit Lions are going to rock with 8 offensive linemen. Their backups are Logan Stenberg, who absolutely earned it. I mean, this guy showed a lot more ability, and he may not have been the perfect scheme fit coming from, last regime, but he's shown a lot through preseason. He's improved like crazy. And you remember just a couple weeks ago, before we got to preseason, Dan Campbell's like, he's a pup right now, but he's really got to turn it on. He's got to improve quick. And since that time, like Dan Campbell said, he's done it. He's absolutely taken that personally. He understood where he was on his depth chart, and he's taken his game to another level. So he makes it, which is awesome. Tommy Kramer does not. I was not completely sure about that one, if they would keep him or not, because Campbell did like Kramer, but he has been waived, of course, for other spots. So the Lions go a little bit lighter at offensive line. I was predicting 9. They went with 8. They also kept Matt Nelson, which is the only backup tackle that we currently have after releasing Darren Paulo, Terrell Crosby, and Dan Skipper's injury, so he was waived injured. That's the only backup offense tackle we have. There's a good chance the Lions will probably look to address that as well and probably add some more competition to that room. So we're looking at 8 offensive linemen, and of course, Evan Brown, the backup center, made it. Evan Heim has been cut as well. So the Lions went with the backup center. That showed us a little bit of versatility, play guard. Same thing with Matt Nelson. So 8 offensive linemen, a little bit lighter, but I expect the Lions will probably add at least 1 guy to that mix to compete. Really have our offensive linemen, especially the second and third units, playing that well consistently throughout preseason. They had some really rough stretches. The tackle position in particular, I mean, we had a lot of inconsistencies there, even with Matt Nelson, but Matt Nelson came around towards the end. Skipper probably could have made the team, maybe, but because of the injury, it kind of took him off. And at the guard spot, Logan Stenberg was our best. He was our best interior offensive lineman with his second and third unit combined, so he makes the roster. On to the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line first. No surprise here. The Lions go with kind of the 7 guys we expected. Deshaun Hand's on the team. Nick Williams is on the team. Jayshon Cornell, we know he's suspended, so he doesn't count, but no really surprise here. Michael Brockers, Levi, Aleem, Nick Williams, Deshaun Hand, Kevin Strong, Dom Pennicini. So the Lions do go in with 7 defensive linemen, but Deshaun Hand's the interesting one. We weren't sure what was going to happen there. Hand is dealing with an injury. The Lions could potentially place him on IR, but they had to get him into this initial 53-man roster cuts if they wanted a chance to bring him back, just like the quarterback position. They could place him on IR, which would hold him out for 3 weeks, which isn't a crazy amount of time. It's very possible the Lions do that, which again would open up a roster spot at least until he comes back. Jayshon Cornell, like we said, he won't count towards the roster because he's going to miss the first 3 weeks being suspended. So the Lions go with 7, but, it kind of makes sense. They go a little bit deeper here, but a couple guys could miss. We know Cornell will miss, and there's a chance that Deshaun Hand misses the start of the season. On to the outside linebacker position, the Lions roll with 5 here. I felt like this was necessary. I could not see making the decision between Charles Harris and Austin Bryant. I think you had to find a way to keep both. Now, the way they did it is different than the way I did it, but they did keep both. I felt like Charles Harris was playing at a pretty good level. He's getting very high reps on the depth chart, and he was showing some pass rush ability. Austin Bryant has really come around. He had a phenomenal phenomenal final week of the preseason, and he showed run stopping ability, pass rush. He can get out in space. Dan Campbell praises the heck out of him. He likes the ceiling, but we know he's had some injuries. All right, knock on wood that don't happen. Going with both. Julian Okora, of course, he's here, and you have Trey Flowers, Romeo Okora. So I like that they went a little deeper here. Plus, there is slightly some versatility in some sets where you can throw some of these guys on the line. Like Austin Bryant showed that he could play on the defense line. We saw that last season, but we've also seen it this year. 2, 4, 5. Then you have guys like Julian, Charles Harris, Austin Bryant that have maybe a little bit more movement in space, so you can throw them out on those downs. So the Lions go with 5. They go a little bit deeper here, but this is one of your strongest positions, so it makes sense that they would do this. Inside linebacker, the Lions went with 5, and this one surprised me a little bit. I didn't think they would do this. The Beckett cut didn't shock me. We kind of all expected that. They went with Jamie Collins, Alex Anzalone, 2 expected. Tavai has been released as well. They kept their backups, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reese-Maybin, expected that, but it's the last one. They found a way to keep Anthony Pittman onto this roster. Pittman is a Detroit Lion with these 53-man cuts. Congratulations, Anthony Pittman. I didn't think it would happen. I really didn't. I got to give a clap. I'm going to give a clap to Pittman. I did not think that he would make this team, but he did show speed. He flashed. I think he really flashed, specifically making plays in the backfield. Just some of that sideline speed, but even making, some plays on short routes in the flats. Not a ton in coverage. Jalen Reese-Maybin, we know he can play both Mike linebacker. He can also play on the weak side of the field, but I think that's what Pittman gives you because they had Jalen Reese-Maybin playing with the green dot on his helmet. Eric Barnes is a backup Mike linebacker, so Pittman gives you that guy that doesn't have to be the Mike. He can just go out there, kind of fly around sideline to sideline. And I got to give Brad some credit because I'm pretty sure that he had Pittman on his roster. So interesting there. You knew they liked Reese-Maybin because of just the special teams upside. Congrats, Pittman. At the cornerback spot, this is where things get kind of wild, though. The Lions decide to go with all the young guys, and I absolutely love it, man. Now I can get a Jerry Jacobs shirt because I know he's on the 53-man roster. Oh yeah. Hey, you gotta be cautious. You gotta be a little. I knew Jamar was gonna be that dude. You gotta be a little cautious, but the Lions rolling with 6. Jeff Okudah, Amani Oruwariye, and A.J. Parker hold down basically kind of like your top 3. Mike Ford was released. That one shocked me. That one did because he was playing well. But it did what we thought it could do. It opened up space for some of these young guys. Ife Melifonwu, of course, he was going to make the roster as a rookie. They went with another rookie in Jerry Jacobs. He made the roster. I can't help but clap. Let's go, Jerry. I see you. Yes, I love it. And Bobby Price, an undrafted free agent from last year, who has moved to cornerback from safety out of Norfolk State, that Dan Campbell praised. He looks raw, but they like the special teams ability, safety cornerback. All these guys bring versatility. That's the name of the game. Okay, A.J. Parker has played some outside in college, but he's played slot and safety. Jerry Jacobs, cross-training at safety, played some slot and outside corner as his main spot. Bobby Price, safety to cornerback, special teams. They all give you versatility. They all give you special teams upside. They're young, but like Aaron Glenn said, one thing that I learned is that you trust the young guys. If young guys are making plays, you put them on the field. Okay, don't be scared to play the young guys, basically. If he's playing well, you put him on the field. And they rewarded these young guys. I think that's absolutely awesome. Lions did cut both Corn Elder and Nickel Roby-Coleman. All right, that's interesting. They cut both of the slots. I was going with Elder over Nickel Roby-Coleman with my predictions here. I thought they'd keep one, but they cut both. One thing that these two guys were lacking is outside versatility. They just didn't bring it to the table. They brought slot. And that was kind of it. And he even said, Dan Campbell said, we need more on special teams as well. So because they were lacking that, these young guys gave you special teams versatility. Those guys didn't necessarily give you that. So they went with the young players. Now, there's definitely a chance, and it's probably pretty likely the Lions will add another vet, maybe one of these two back for the cuts, and they start, placing guys on IR, things like that. Add them back to the roster, maybe the practice squad, because, you can hold 6 vets on the practice squad out of your 16, and just try to have that vet at slot cornerback, because A.J. Parker, even though they're showing a lot of trust in him here, giving that slot role, because there is no Mike Ford now, you really are very young at that spot, and you really only have the one guy who's kind of locked into that position. So adding a vet, I think, is a must. I think that's something the Lions should do. That they kept the young guys, because those guys have a very good shot at getting claimed. There's a very good chance that Jerry Jacobs would have been claimed. All right. Bobby Price, I'm not completely sure, but he could have. But these vets, these guys were available for a long time. Elder, maybe not, but Nickel Roby-Coleman was available for a long time. Congratulations to all those dudes, man. That's super exciting. They're giving the young dudes a chance. And at the safety position, the Detroit Lions are rocking with 4 safeties. No surprises here. They're going with the 4. T. Walk, Will Harris, C.J. Moore, and CJ Moore and Dean Marlowe. I think Dean Marlowe's the 3. They have waived Jalen Elliott. Elliott's one of those guys that I would personally try to get back on the practice squad. He'd be a priority guy for me. I think he played really well. I like Elliott and where he's going. I thought that you could have made a case for him over CJ Moore. It felt like they were going with CJ. They were leaning towards it. He was getting like higher reps on the depth chart. But I think you could have still made a case for Jalen Elliott. Either way, that'd be someone that I prioritize trying to get back on the practice squad if he gets through the waivers and you're able to bring him back. Here's where really the surprise comes in. The Lions did it. I didn't think they would do it. It was an idea thrown out there. I was like, well, that's interesting. And they did it. This is how the Lions made it work. And they were able to keep a couple extra guys like your Pittmans and things like that, and 6 receivers at the same time, and 4 running backs. The Detroit Lions cut both of their kickers. Now, I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, wait a minute, we just cut both. Yes, we did cut both of our kickers. Scott Daly and Jack Fox are here, but Randy Bullock and Zay Gonzalez have been cut. And now the idea behind this is that, of course, it opens up a spot so one of these guys can make it. But Zay Gonzalez was available for a very long time. We picked him up through the preseason. So there's a good chance that he's probably going to come back and be available. Randy Bullock, we'll have to wait and see, but there's a chance he could also be available. And once they place him on an IR, like a Tim Boyle or Deshaun Hand, which would open up 2 spots, they could just grab one of these kickers back, sign them back, and then boom, there you go. That opens a spot for one of these young guys. So it makes a lot of sense. You do run the risk of possibly losing both. Randy Bullock, that felt like the number 1, right? He was getting the first reps, but then they used Zane Gonzalez in the next preseason game. And Randy Bullock didn't get an opportunity to kick from that deep. It's kind of up and down. They'd have their good days, they'd have their bad days. So it was kind of like this. In preseason, they were perfect, but they didn't really have to kick it from far. I felt like Randy Bullock would have had the nod here if they would have picked the kicker. Randy Bullock probably would have been the guy that got the nod. But the Lions wanted to open up a spot for one of these other young guys. And I think that's honestly a really cool idea. See, if they lose one, that'd be the only risk, is that you could lose the kicker possibly here. But to be honest with you, no one really like dominated where it was like, oh, he's got the job. You know what I'm saying? It was just inconsistency. So for the Lions, they're like running the risk of, you know what? We don't think both of them are going to get picked up. Or even if they do, maybe they have an eye on a different kicker. Have like a little loophole. I guess the Patriots did it back in 2020, and it worked out for them. So hopefully it works out for us. 2 tight ends, Godwin's in, Pittman's in, young cornerbacks. Offensive lineman rocks with 3, defensive line goes with 7, outside linebackers go with 5. The 2 maybe strongest positions are going to run deep here. 6 cornerbacks, all the young guys, and Tom Kennedy is in with 3 quarterbacks. A list real quick of the guys that were recently announced as waived. You can see Elliott, Kramer, Berry, Alize Mack, Javon McKinley, Dedrick Mills, Sage. A lot of these guys are going to try to get back on the practice squad if they don't get claimed. But I think the way it worked out was actually not a bad idea. I think one of these vet corners should stay available, and even if they don't, maybe you can grab someone else. Desmond Trufant just got cut, by the way. I don't want him back, but I'm just saying. But I think one of these vet slots will be someone the Lions target to bring back. Receiver could be a spot for a guy like Javon McKinley that they try to get back on the practice squad. Defensive line is a spot to look for the Lions to address, but there it is. There's your 53-man roster.